I'm not actually testing now, but it is the first time I'm live um, with Facebook. And if I'm doing it right, then you should see the title, maybe, which is this is going to be my testimony that I'd like to share with those of you who are watching this. I don't know who that's going to be, but I went to church today, and Pastor Noah, my pastor, gave a really great sermon, and he inspired me to do this. So I thought I would share a little bit about my relationship with Jesus. And I want to say to preface this, I want to say the reason I'm a Christian, the reason that I'm even sharing this is because I believe that love, like this true, pure love that God has, is something that is greater than anything on this planet. And that when we talk about like heaven, we're not talking about this pretty place where there's clouds and we play harps and stuff like that. When we're talking about heaven, I believe that heaven is where you experience true, perfect love, not only with like God, with Jesus, but with like everyone that's up there. So my hope, living my life the way that I do, the choices I make, is that one day I'll make it up to heaven, of course, but then that all the people that I love, all the people that I meet, meet me up there too. Like that's my dream, my hope, all of that. So let me tell you a little bit about what the sermon was, so you know why I'm inspired, and then I'll tell you my testimony. He was talking about how important it is not to live a content life, a pit stop life, where you've got this world that we live in, this temporary place that we're at, and that the real adventure, the real destination is something that we can't even imagine. And so that I'd like to
yeah, I usually do turn it off, but I got a notification on the computer. All right, guys, we're going to try this again. So I was wondering if it's something I'm doing that I would check it out or something. But I got it fixed. I'm not going to be told no. I'm not going to be stopped. You will hear my cousin speak. All right. Without further ado, here is the one, the only, Andrew Faber.
Share with those of you who are watching this. I don't know who that's going to be, but I went to church today, and Pastor Noah, my pastor, gave a really great sermon, and he inspired me to do this. So I thought I would share a little bit about my relationship with Jesus. And I want to say to preface this, I want to say the reason I'm a Christian, the reason that I'm even sharing this is because I believe that love, like this true, pure love that God has, is something that is greater than anything on this planet. And that when we talk about like heaven, we're not talking about this pretty place where there's clouds and we play harps and stuff like that. When we're talking about heaven, I believe that heaven is where you experience true, perfect love, not only with like God, with Jesus, but with like everyone that's up there. So my hope, living my life the way that I do, the choices I make, is that one day I'll make it up to heaven, of course, but then that all the people that I love, all the people that I meet, meet me up there too. Like that's my dream, my hope, um, all that. So let me tell you a little bit about um, what the sermon was, so you know why I'm inspired, and then I'll tell you my testimony. He was talking about how important it is not to live a content life, a pit stop life, where you've got this world that we live in, this temporary place that we're at, and that the real adventure, the real destination is something that we can't even imagine. And so my story starts when I was living in this little American town, this little place, Skagit Valley. And I was a Seventh-day Adventist. And I remember distinctly at like 12, 13, 14 years old, I was, I thought I knew exactly what I wanted in life. Now, I always had asked, ever since I was little, I wanted to know the truth, because people always told me that this is the truth, this is the truth, this is the truth. And so, as this little Christian kid, this little Adventist kid, I had decided that I wanted the truth. I had always asked God for that. But then, um, like 12, 13, 14, 15, 16 years old, I was determined to plan my life out. I knew exactly what I wanted. I was going to go to the Adventist college, Walla Walla, which was 5 hours away from home. I was going to go there. I was going to find my wife. I was going to get my degree in being a doctor. I was going to move back home into the Skagit Valley area, and there I was going to make lots of money being a doctor and live there with my wife and live happily ever after. I even set a date for when I was going to die, so I wouldn't be disappointed if I always had said, I was going to live to be 60, and then that's it. That's all I was going to plan for. And so that was the life I had chosen for myself. That was the life I had decided on. But thank goodness that God had a different plan for me. So the plan started going according to my plan. I went to Walla Walla College. I spent 4 years, or before, sorry, I should say before this, God already started altering the plan. So I was ready to be a doctor, make lots of money as a doctor. So I was ready to be a doctor. And then I went to shadow a doctor, and it was incredibly boring, and it was horrible. Like, I did not like this job. And that was the first change that he made. He said, this isn't going to be your passion. You're not going to like work if you become a doctor. And so I decided I was going to be something else. What was I going to be, though? And so I remember God telling me, be something that you'll love doing. And at that time, I loved working with my aunt at a school who was a teacher. She was a teacher. So that was the first twist. God went from saying, all right, instead of making all this money as a doctor, why don't you go ahead and be a teacher, which makes very little money, at least in the beginning. And so that was the first change. So I went to college and, had the college experience, 4 years of getting my degree in elementary education. I was ready to, graduate. The girl that I was, hoping to fall in love with and marry, things didn't work out the way that was supposed to be. So I was a little disappointed in that, but that was okay. I was going to go ahead and get my job where I was supposed to, but then that job didn't work out. And I was thinking, okay, this isn't good. It's not the plan. The plan is to go back to Skagit to get my job, my perfect job. That wasn't working out. So then I thought, all right, you know what? I'll stay in Walla Walla. That's the nice place to be. I'll be there. And I even had the house I wanted to live in, the school I was going to work at. That didn't work out either. And God said, you know what? You should go on a mission trip. And I thought, no, I don't want to do that. I've seen Christians who do that. They go and they do this Christian, let's go and, save the world. And I wasn't into that. I was into staying home, but he really pushed me. And so I went on a mission trip. I went to California, and there I started learning something a little different about God, because before, God was kind of like just one of the, things that I checked off my list. It was one of those things that I was just like, yeah, I go to church because that's good and it looks good. Look at this guy. He's going to church, he's going to school. Check, check, check. Boom. Awesome. But then when I got to California is where we started. I began to see God differently. He's not just this person you check off on your list. He's not just this guy who says, well, this is what you can do, this is what you can't do. I began to realize he's this person to have a relationship, that Jesus was more than just some guy in a Bible or in a book. He was someone that you could have a relationship with, that you could love because he loved you so much, and that he had more to offer than just a list of rules. It was new to me. I didn't know that before. I didn't realize that was who he could be. I just thought it was a way for the church, or whatever you want to call it, to control the population almost. I mean, if somebody had said that before. Well, that was great. It was great to find this new relationship with him, but I still had my plans. And then I went to Guatemala. Now, if you haven't been to Guatemala, let me describe it to you. The average pay in Guatemala, I believe, was something around $1 in American dollars, something around $1. It was not much. The average pay was very low. Poverty, I will say this, I've never, even to this day, I have never seen such poverty as I have in Guatemala. It was truly, life-changing, but it was devastating to see. Like, I was so surprised at how people could be so happy and yet live in such poverty. And then to add on to that, we went to a little town called San Pedro. And in this place, you barely made more than 7 cents a day, unless you wanted to deal yourself in prostitution or drugs, in which case you could make upwards of $1. But otherwise, you were making about 7 cents a day. People were so poor, they literally lived on landfills, garbage place, just giant piles of garbage, if you don't know what a landfill is, just because they had nowhere else to live. They could not afford to pay rent, let alone pay for food. I had a friend back at home, back in California, and she was asking me what I thought the best thing to do to help was. And initially I thought, well, just bring money. But in the end, it's not about money. It's about educating. And that was something that God started placing in my heart, that he wanted me to be more than just a teacher. He wanted me to be someone who would go to places like this to start schools, to start education. Because even if you were in this village, you couldn't escape. Like, I'm going to say this right now, in Bulgaria, for example, if you're living in Bulgaria and you're poor and you just really want to pull yourself up by the bootstraps, then there's options for you. You're speaking Bulgarian, sure, but there are places to learn English. If you wanted to leave the country, if you wanted to find ways to make money, there are opportunities, not always easy ones, but there are opportunities to pull yourself out of the mud, so to speak. Over there wasn't, because the people that were speaking the language in that village wasn't even Spanish, let alone English. It was some sort of native language. And even if they wanted to escape the village and go work in Guatemala City, they couldn't, because they couldn't even speak Spanish. They were stuck, and nobody was in that village teaching them Spanish, teaching them English, teaching them anything. They were stuck there. And I realized that was something, that education was, in a way, freedom, at least physical freedom. And so I started getting this thing from God, that I was going to do more than just work as a teacher, that he wanted me to be moving to places around the world to build schools, not just be a teacher. that was bothering me because I had my plan. My plan was not to go around the world. My plan was to go back home. This little, fun little experience was great, but I wanted to go back home. I wanted to work at a school, be near my family, um, have my, wife and children and all that stuff. And so this was starting to bother me. But slowly he built this desire in my heart as I was going around Bulgaria, as I was going around Guatemala. And I began to realize this was something I wanted. And so then I went back home and I looked for a job. I actually didn't look for a job. That was God. And I asked my former boss, Miss Yuka at Bellevue Children's Academy, I asked her where she found my resume because I did not apply for anything. I should have, but I didn't. I was in Guatemala. I was coming home in June. Most teachers get their jobs in like March. They find a new place or whatever from February to April. That's the timeline when teachers are starting to look for new jobs or schools are hiring. After that, there's sort of a cutoff, And so if you're looking for a job in June, July as a teacher, that's not a great place to be looking for a job, especially in the States. I don't know about other countries, but especially in the States. So I got back home and this gal, Miss Yuka at Bellevue Children's Academy, she called me and she said she wanted me to come in for an interview. Don't know where she got my information from. And I had started to get all hyped up. Like I'm ready to change the world, to go out and be like this world changer and not, stay at home because, God had put this thing in my heart. So I was ready to go do that. And God said, not yet. And so then I took this job and I already was like outside of my home limits, like Skagit's up here. And then 2 hours south is Seattle, Bellevue area. And so, I'm working down there. And so I'm already starting to pull out of my original plan, but still I had certain things, I got to get married, that's important. I gotta, go off and change the world, however that works. And so, already I started seeing some of this change that God was doing, but I was still holding on to some of those plans. And so years went by. I worked at this school, this private school that had all these different international groups of people from India, from Russia, from everywhere. All corners of the earth were coming to me at this school. And I didn't realize it, but over those 8 years, I learned how to be an international person, not an American, but an international person. And it was amazing. I mean, I look back on it and it was amazing. I was frustrated many of those years because I thought, okay, when do I go? And I thought, maybe I'm messing up. Maybe I'm supposed to be doing something because I kept saying like, God, when do I go? When do I go? I was so anxious to go. Anyway, the girl I was chasing at the time was from Brazil. And so I kept going to Brazil. The first couple of years, I just kept going to Brazil, trying to track her down, get her to seal in for this this checklist of get married. And I thought, God's calling me to Brazil. He's calling me to Brazil. And anyway, that didn't work out. But I kept thinking, Brazil's where I'm supposed to be. Brazil's the place. And then I get this pastor who's like, oh, you should go to Bulgaria. And I thought, Bulgaria, I don't even know where that is. I thought I knew it wasn't Bolivia. I know many people make that sort of mistake. I knew it wasn't Bolivia, but I had no idea where it was. I thought maybe it was in Europe or Asia, but I didn't know. I was close. Anyway, so I went there on a mission trip, just 2 weeks this time. And that country changed me. This country here changed me. And almost immediately, as soon as I got back, I thought, I can't, like, I went there for 2 weeks and I made no change. I was on vacation, and I wanted to make a change. I wanted to go back because there were kids there. There were kids there of all types, like Christian kids at church. There were poor kids, Roma kids who had no, no money. There were kids at private schools. I mean, all these different kinds of kids. And I saw there was a need that could be filled, but it couldn't be filled by me visiting for 2 weeks. So I wanted to go back, but I didn't want to make an emotional, I was always a planner. I was always saying, all right, I'm doing this, I'm doing this, I'm doing this. And God always took that out of my hands and said, you know what, why don't you do this? And so I prayed about it. I kept asking him, is this what you want? I got student debt. I can't go to a poor country, work there, and try and pay off student debt. Can't do that. I owned a house. I had all these responsibilities. And I said, God, you got to take these away if I'm going to go. If that's my sign that you want me to go. And so he did. He made all those things vanish. So I went to Bulgaria. And here I am 4 years later, almost 5. And the point I want to make with my testimony here is I had plans. And every time I had a plan and God shot it off in a different direction, initially I was upset. I was bothered by it because I had a plan. And if I look back on that time, look back when I was 18, if I'd followed through with my plan and I had done what I wanted, I would be leading an extremely boring, possibly frustrating life. To be a doctor, I would have not felt fulfilled in my work, however much money I would have had. If I had stayed in Skagit, I would have been bored with my life, because Skagit is, as wonderful as it is a small town with not the opportunities that I've been given. And it is scary. I won't lie. Like all this stuff that happened when I went to California on the mission trip, to Guatemala, when I went to move to Bulgaria, and even now as I'm going through changes in this season, it's scary. It's so scary when God grabs you and says, hey, you know what? I got this plan for you. And he never forces. I remember having this conversation. I was driving down this beautiful street in Bellevue, my old town. And I remember thinking to myself how beautiful this town is, this city is, how wonderful it is, how beautiful my life was. And God told me, he was whispering me as I was driving down and admiring this and thinking, wow, I cannot believe how lucky I am to be living here. And he told me, he said, you know what? If you want to, I'll let you live here for the rest of your life. I'll let you settle down and live a normal life. And if you want that, he was telling me, he was giving me this option. He's like, I will bless you and I will enrich you, but I have something greater for you. I have something greater for you. I have this amazing gift for you that you are going to love. And he didn't force it on me. He didn't force me to go to California. He didn't force me to go to Guatemala. None of that stuff. I feel like from my early age of practicing this prayer of, I want the truth. I want this. I feel like even though I am stubborn and I do fight him a lot, I feel like that practice of saying I want the truth more than I want whatever I want, control. I think that has helped me to release in the end and say, all right, I'll go to California. I'll go to Guatemala. I'll go to Bulgaria. I'll go wherever you want me to go, and I'll do whatever you want me to do. It's scary. It's terrifying, but I'm going to do it. And it really is amazing where I am right now. To be in Bulgaria, to be working with kids in a private school here who need just as much help as kids in the Roma village. To be in a place where I know that it's not always comfortable. It's not always, all fun and games, but to know that I'm making a change, to make a difference, to be where I'm supposed to be has been incredible, a thrilling, amazing adventure. And I just want to encourage you guys out there, those of you who are Christians, that there is a plan, and your plan, minuscule, whatever your ideas are, your plans are, God's got just these huge plans for you that you don't even realize. I could not, if you asked me 10 years ago, 20 years ago, however long ago, that I'd be living in Bulgaria right now doing this kind of stuff, I would have never believed it. Never at all. There's no way. And I'm so excited for what the next 10 years have to offer because I have no idea now. I've come to the point where I realize I have no idea what God has for me, but there is something out there that he has for me, and I'm so excited about it. So I just want to encourage you, if you're a Christian, that there is this amazing plan for you, and all you have to do is sort of let go. He knows who you are, so he knows that you're not going to be like, okay, I'll just do whatever you want. Like, he knows how you are, and as long as you say, I'm willing, he'll let you fight, because that's what I did. That's what I always do. And even now, as I'm moving into this new season, I'm fighting it so much, but he knows that what I really want is for him to be in control. And so he knows that for you too. So I'm going to encourage that with Christians that are out there. And if you're not a Christian, then the reason I'm sharing all this is because however the church portrays God, who he is love incarnate. He loves you more than your parents would ever love you, more than any person on this planet could ever possibly love you. And if you think about it, really, like, what do we as humans go after? We go after power, we go after money, we go after popularity, we go after these things for control, but we go after these things to feel loved. We've got this deep, infinitely deep hole of wanting to be loved. And fortunately for us, we got this one person who is able to fill that, this infinite love, this guy, this God, this Jesus who loves us so much that he's willing to die for us, which sounds kind of cliche if you've heard that. Like, if you heard, oh, Jesus came down, but I mean, to think that someone who doesn't die, like someone who's immortal, who doesn't die, he speaks, and universes appear from just his words, and yet he's willing to die for us. That's something that's amazing, and something that I am so glad that that's part of my life. It gives me strength that I don't even realize. And I want desperately, if you're not a Christian, then that's something I want to give you is a chance to meet this God, because that's who he really is. And sometimes as a church, we don't always portray that as a Christian church, all of us, So anyway, that's it. That's my testimony. And yeah, thank you for watching. If you're watching, I'm not sure even if this is working, or if I'm talking to myself. So, I hope you all have a great day. And I hope you all have a great day. And I hope this is giving you something, anything. So, goodbye. All right. Goodbye.
Cousin Andrew, I love you. We are, like I said before, several years apart. But it's funny how a lot of our mannerisms and thoughts, and I don't know if anybody's watching. I don't even know if this is working, because it wasn't working earlier, but it's working now. Oh, I love it. I love it. Most of what I was going to say, I've already said in a couple other broadcasts, so I don't know if you're even watching this one. This is almost 30 minutes long. So if you stuck around, thank you. God calls each of us to our own, to be a certain body in his body. And some of us are the head, some of us are the arms, some of us are the legs, some of us are the heart. But God knows you, and he knows where you're going to be most happy. And it's up to you to listen to him and allow him to put you in that position so that you can live the life that you're going to make you the most happy, but it's also the life he wants you to live. So in closing, if you don't know what you want and you don't know what you want to do with your life, I challenge you to do what my cousin did, to give it to God. to get that relationship with him going to the point where you trust him to put the happiness of your life and profession and everything in front of him, and it'll work out. I know that because now that I'm doing what I'm doing, that's what I'm living. And sometimes you need to refocus and readjust, but you need, as long as you're doing it in his name and you're doing it with the right intentions, he's going to lead you to the right way. So I look forward to Thanksgiving this coming week, spending time with family and friends, and I hope you do too. We will see you guys tomorrow morning with more business-related talk.